Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of April 2nd, 2025. I'm your host, Shariefa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Ogun-Toye, an infantry officer. Intense aerial and artillery strikes, operational tactical aviation, drone units, and artillery played a significant role in targeting Ukrainian military infrastructure, including a facility for assembling UAVs, a training center, and various ammunition depots. These efforts were supported by effective air defense actions that neutralized JDAM-guided aerial bombs and a large number of UAVs.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, your trusted source for the latest developments on security and defense operations involving military forces. I'm your host, and today we have an exclusive interview with Colonel A.C. Ogun-Toye, who will provide insights into the progress of the special military operation as of April 2nd, 2025. Colonel Ogun-Toye, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Colonel, let's start with the big picture. What are the main developments on the front lines over the last 24 hours?
The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to carry out the special military operation with coordinated actions across all major sectors. Our forces have maintained pressure along the front lines and have made tactical gains in key areas. We've inflicted significant personnel and equipment losses on Ukrainian formations in multiple operational zones, including the Sumy, Kharkiv, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions.
Let's look at the northern sector. What happened in the Belgorod and Sumy regions?
In the Belgorod direction, our North Group engaged Ukrainian mechanized and territorial defense brigades in areas such as Prokody, Turia, and Myropolskoye. The engagements resulted in over 95 enemy personnel neutralized and the destruction of armored vehicles, cars, and artillery pieces. It was a clear disruption of their forward defense efforts in Sumy.
And further west in the Kharkiv and Donetsk zones?
The West Group of forces improved our lines of engagement and targeted mechanized brigades as well as a Ukrainian border detachment. These actions took place in Andriivka, Kamenka, and areas around Krasny Lyman. We eliminated over 200 enemy personnel, disabled heavy equipment including a U.S.-made M113 armored vehicle, and neutralized ammunition depots and electronic warfare systems.
What about the Donetsk People's Republic? How active has the Southern Group been?
Quite active. The Southern Group advanced in areas like Verkhnekamenskoye and Seversk. They confronted multiple Ukrainian units, including mechanized, airmobile, and UAV regiments. We estimate around 285 Ukrainian personnel were lost in those engagements. Several armored vehicles, including NATO standard equipment, were destroyed as well.
Was there any notable action involving specialized Ukrainian units?
Yes, in the center sector, our forces engaged and defeated Ukrainian Ranger, Assault, and Special Forces units, including the elite Omega unit of the National Guard. This occurred in settlements like Lenina, Kedlino, and Novosergivka. These engagements were tactically complex but resulted in over 400 Ukrainian casualties and the destruction of multiple field artillery systems.
We've been hearing about continued Russian advances in the east. Can you expand on that?
Yes. The East Group continued pushing into Ukrainian defensive lines and successfully liberated the settlement of Razliv. We engaged mechanized, marine, and territorial units in the Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions, eliminating more than 100 personnel and taking out vehicles, artillery, and electronic warfare assets.
And the southernmost flank, the DNEPR Group?
In the Kherson region, the Dnipro Group repositioned into stronger defensive positions and targeted Ukrainian coastal and mechanized brigades. Approximately 60 enemy personnel were neutralized, and we successfully struck their electronic warfare and ammunition logistics. The Ukrainian armed forces used Lobkovo as a link between defensive positions along the Dnieper and frontline groups south of Orkhov. The loss of this point makes the entire chain less stable and forces the Ukrainian armed forces to either retreat to the next line or redistribute reserves, which are not increasing there.
Let's talk air operations. What role did Russian aviation and drone assets play?
Operational tactical aviation and drone units were decisive. Our forces targeted a UAV assembly enterprise and a training center for drone operators. These precision strikes, along with missile and artillery bombardments, disrupted Ukrainian manpower concentrations and foreign mercenary staging areas across 139 zones.
That's a large operational footprint. Any updates on air defense activity?
Yes, absolutely. Our air defense forces intercepted 2 JDAM-guided bombs, a Uragan rocket, and 177 unmanned aerial vehicles, with 94 of those intercepted over Russian Federation territory. This shows that our integrated air defense systems remain fully capable of managing high-volume aerial threats.
And finally, can you brief us on the situation in the Kursk region?
In the Kursk direction, our North Group continued to repel Ukrainian incursions in the Kursk axis. We inflicted losses on airborne assault and mechanized brigades near Gornal, Gavo, and Oleshnya. Artillery and airstrikes further weakened enemy forces across more than 15 settlements in the Sumy region. In the past 24 hours alone, Ukraine lost more than 150 personnel in this sector.
You've reported that what we're seeing around Belgorod feels familiar, almost cyclical. What do you mean by that?
There's a real sense of déjà vu, actually, a double one. First, we're seeing echoes of what happened last year in Kazinka and Spotoryashino. Back then, the Ukrainian side mounted a serious push, up to 60 battalions in 3 echelons, aiming for Graveron. They mapped it out by sectors on tablets we later captured. But they never made it. They got bogged down in the border villages. Lost men, lost armor, and in the end, they withdrew. Second would be KRYNKY. Different setting, same logic, throwing forces at positions that are basically indefensible. In Belgorod now, they're clinging to places like Popovka, and it's painfully clear they have nowhere to go. They're just getting pounded. Reminds me of Demidovka, another pocket where the defenders were trapped and worn down without a viable exit strategy.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you. If Kursk is fully secured, it's not just a symbolic win, it's a strategic rupture. Ukraine would be forced to fall back to its secondary defensive belt, which they're still constructing. The more time they can buy, even at a high cost, the more they can shore up Sumy. However, they're sacrificing lives and hardware to do it. This front may seem static, but there's movement below the surface. The Ukrainian defense is repositioning, and the Russian advance is probing, searching for weak seams. Once the breach in Sumy starts to widen, we could witness another major shift. But for now, what we're observing is attrition with intent.